Kurt Russell gives his thoughts on the James Gunn situation. That's the headline on this week's Movie Burner News. And joining us as usual is John, and we're just going to talk about the headline, and we're going to get right into this, John. Now, over the last few weeks, this has been a on-off relationship as far as the speculation goes, at least in regards to the James Gunn situation for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. As we know, a few weeks ago it broke that he was removed from the franchise for these comments, which we'll get into in a little moment. It was then, I think last week, that we got the reports of the cast supporting the former director. They want him to stay on, but as we know, Disney are sticking to their guns on this one. We know that Kurt Russell has now come in here. He played obviously Ego in the Volume 2 of this franchise. He thinks it's very sad what's happened in regards to the comments that James Gunn made all those years ago. He's obviously a good friend, a close friend of James Gunn, the director, saying this is Kurt Russell quoting this, he has a wonderful heart and a wonderful mind, and I hope he is forgiven. What's your thoughts on this, John?
Yeah, my thoughts are he doesn't need to be forgiven, Stephen. I've already forgiven him. I mean, it's jokes from 10 years ago. It's jokes. I know they're a bit insensitive, a bit crass, a little bit strange, but listen, it's still jokes. The guy's not a paedophile. He's not literally committing these acts. He's just tweeting jokes about them 10 years ago. He's already apologised about 6 years ago, and now he's apologised again. For me, he doesn't need to be forgiven. This Kurt Russell says in this article, some people need to realise that when you're in the world of being a comedian and a writer, you're always stretching the boundaries and trying to find something that the world loves, whilst also having that edge of controversy about it. So I've got no issues with what he done. I think it's ridiculous. Disney, of all people, sacking him after who founded them, a right Nazi racist git, and that was Walt Disney. They've got some cheek. They just need to look back at their history if they're going to be starting to sack people on their political views or some things they've done in the past. They might need to shut down the whole company, because the git is still in a cryogenic chamber as far as I know. His head's still there. Know what I'd do with it. But I've got no issues with James Gunn and what he done. I completely agree with the cast and Kurt Russell. I think it's ridiculous that they sacked him and bowed down to some moronic right-wing blogger. I don't know who he is, but from what I'm hearing and from what I've seen of him, he's no angel either when it comes to some tweets that he's put out. But this is just classic Disney, and it's classic PC going mad. You kowtow to these idiots online to try and set some sort of example. Apparently they released a press release last week saying that they hold themselves to higher standards than other studios. Now, I beg to differ on that one, and they've lost a great director who I'm sure will go on to produce films for DC and Warner Brothers, and maybe he'll bring up the standard of the DCEU, so we'll all be a winner in the end.
Yeah, John, I think that's basically the past catching up with James Gunn here. I understand the cast point of view here. They're very loyal to their director. He's made 2 very successful movies in this franchise, consistent as well, and everyone that's involved in entertainment, especially in Hollywood, feel they've got a responsibility to speak out now, especially with the age of social media, and this isn't anything different. The likes of Chris Pratt, Bradley Cooper, Zoe Saldana, Karen Gillan, Vin Diesel, Michael Rooker, Dave Bautista, and also Sean Gunn as well, who is James Gunn's brother, obviously, who appeared in the movies as well, have felt it necessary to come out and speak out. They do stress that, although these tweets are inexcusable, they don't think they should have been fired. And that you kind of expected that to come out after the initial release of this unfortunate news. But as you said, Disney are going to stick to their guns on this. They've got a very black and white policy on regards to, if you pardon the pun, but they do have it's a very straight down the line policy they do have in regards to making any kind of statements, whether it be political, religious, or whatever it has been, has got no place in the Disney machine. And I appreciate that, but we live in the real world. People have opinions, people make jokes, people make sick jokes as well. I'm not saying it's right, but it happens. That's the way of the world. I can give you a very good example of where we are at in the world. I was watching an old Beatles clip on YouTube, and in this video clip, the late great John Lennon portrayed what he felt was a comical characterisation of someone who was mentally disabled. Obviously in today's PC world that wouldn't be acceptable, but people are going on the comments and making comments about it's a disgrace, this was, this happened, this was allowed to happen. You've got to remember, this was a long time ago. I'm not saying it was right what he did, but things have changed in the world, and I'm not talking about just back in the 1960s here when the Beatles were in their heyday here. I'm talking as little time ago as 10 years ago, and this would round about the time when James Gunn was making these ill-advised jokes. I certainly don't agree with that kind of humour, but that's just me, that's just my personal opinion. I don't think it's funny, but at the end of the day, he apologised, took full responsibility, and I don't know what else the guy can do. I honestly don't know, and he's not going to be the last either. I think there's going to be a lot more of this kind of thing coming out, because we've got social media. The minute you put anything down in black and white, the minute you record anything on audio, it's there to be scrutinised.
Yes, and you've also got the likes of Michael Rooker who are deleting their accounts as we speak, and a whole host of other people deleting their accounts, because you can't have a situation where words you're putting down when you're in a younger state and also a little bit more immature, or you had a different view of the world or life. You can't have those words being twisted out of context a decade later and being used as a stick to beat you over the head with. As you say, the jokes weren't even remotely funny. I was looking at them and I was like, what the hell is he doing here? I was like cringing for him. But this is jokes. As he says, he was a bit of a provocateur back in the day. We've had examples of this. Even the chap I watch on YouTube, Philip DeFranco, he's a great non-official sort of a newsreader on YouTube. He does news, not a newsreader, but he does news shows via his YouTube channel. Back in the day he was similar. He lived right on the precipice of being controversial and being crass, and he grew up and he developed. He's left those videos on his channel because he wants to show people that you can't beat people over the head with a stick for something they'd done when they were younger and they had a different view in life, and it's much like this here with James Gunn. The other thing is that I don't know how the hell they're going to get someone in to do this film now. How can you get someone in to direct Guardians of the Galaxy 3 now? It's so synonymous with James Gunn and his vision. This is his story. He created the two screenplays. Also, he's adapted them off of comics, but he was going to be heading up the whole cosmic side of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and now they've got rid of him, so I don't know who they're going to get in. I don't know who's going to be put up for the role. I've seen Taika Waititi being put forward for the name, and I think that would be a great choice. If you're going to replace him and not bring him back on, then I certainly think he's got that right balance of humour, brilliant writing ability, and he's just a fantastic director, so that would certainly be my decision. But I'm not the head of Marvel, I'm not the head of Disney, I'm not Bob Iger, I'm not Kevin Feige. I'm sure they'll pick someone worthy, but I don't think it will be the same after James Gunn stepped away. I've seen a lot of people saying they're going to boycott it potentially. I'm not going to go that far, sorry. The cast are not even boycotting it, so I'm not going to boycott it. I'm not going to deny myself going to see Guardians of the Galaxy 3, because it's my favourite part, arguably, of the MCU. I love the different tone, the more light-hearted nature of it. Chris Pratt playing off of the likes of Rocket and Groot, and just the introduction of all the great retro music and the way it all plays in. So I'm not going to deny myself, but it's a shame that he's been sacked. I think it's ridiculous. Certainly with Disney's history, they should know better. And just touching into what I said, Stephen, about the screenwriting, the stories in this film have all been about developing and becoming a better person, so you should have looked at the screenplays and you'll get an idea of what the guy's trying to do. He's trying to develop and be a better person.
I think Waititi would be a great call though, John, because if you look back at the tone of the first two Thor films, they're certainly different to that last one, Ragnarok. And I do believe they brought this guy in because the upcoming Infinity War movie there, where the tone of the Guardians was so different to the rest of the MCU that you needed a movie that was already a franchise that was already established in either Iron Man, Thor or Captain America, that would bridge the gap between the tones. Ragnarok did that, and Waititi knows how to do that. He knows how to not take it to the ridiculous, but at the same time bridge the gap between the humour in Guardians of the Galaxy and the rest of the MCU, and it worked wonders. And I know the dust hasn't settled on who and what's going to happen here with Volume 3 anyway. I think we're probably jumping ahead of ourselves here, but I don't think that would be a bad shout, recruiting him to step into the director's chair once the dust is settled on this. It's not going to put me off anyway. It's not going to put me off. I loved the first two movies, and I've got to be honest with you, I think after the first film I didn't even know who James Gunn was at that point. Pardon my ignorance, but I didn't know who he was at that point. So I know he had a big part in the success of those two movies. I can't take that away from him, but I don't think there's going to be a boycott.
No, there isn't. There definitely isn't. But we're going to move on to the next topic, Stephen, which is all about this new Oliver Hardy and Stan Laurel biopic. Funnily enough, titled Stan and Ollie. It stars John C. Reilly and the fantastic Steve Coogan, who we are both massive fans of. Big fan of John C. Reilly as well, but I'm a bigger fan of Steve Coogan. They've released the first photo of this, and it's going to be premiering and closing the London Film Festival. I have to say, Stephen, first photos on the photograph, unbelievable. The two of them are ridiculously close to the actual men. John C. Reilly in particular is morphed into Oliver Hardy. It's uncanny, from that strange little thing he done with his fringe to the little Hitler Charlie Chaplin moustache. He's just scarily like him, and even Steve Coogan, he's got the mannerisms, that look on his face and the eyebrows. He just looks like Stan Laurel. Can't wait to see this. We're both massive fans of Laurel and Hardy, obviously utterly iconic comedians and just actors in general. They're fantastic, and I can't wait to see this film. I didn't even know it existed. You did. You knew before me, Stephen. I didn't know until you sent this to me.
Yeah, it was our editor-in-chief that actually showed me a screenshot. Kevin showed me a screenshot of Steve Coogan's IMDb, his upcoming projects, and it wasn't even that it was showing me. It was a untitled Alan Partridge project for the BBC, and I just happened to clock the Stan and Ollie title for 2019. This is when this movie is going to be released, actually, to general release. I think it's sometime in January, although the world premiere will be on the 21st of October over here in the UK. But yeah, John, as you said, this photograph's really exciting stuff here for anybody that's a fan of Laurel and Hardy. I've got the box set of all the movies. I've watched them maybe about 4 or 5 times, doing marathons with these films because they're so iconic, legendary, and so funny. They're just so timeless. The humour in them, I've seen myself just knotting myself after the 5th viewing of a certain film. It's just got that rewatchability about them. They're so charismatic on screen. Their comedy timing, they really are the benchmark for movie comedy. If you look at anyone, the likes of Jim Carrey, Robin Williams, they'll all quote Laurel and Hardy as the benchmark. You've got the likes of Harold Lloyd as well, Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton as well, but these two guys were the creme de la creme as far as comedy went, and I'm looking forward to this. I'm also looking forward to it because I know that Jeff Pope is involved in this, and I know that he's already won a BAFTA, and I think he was Oscar nominated as well alongside Coogan for his adapted screenplay for 2013's Philomena, which was an amazing film. Jeff Pope is such an amazing writer, and I'm glad to see that he's involved in this project, and I think it's John S. Baird who's directing this movie, John, if I'm not mistaken. He directed the movie Filth, so if you've seen that movie you'll know what's to come in this, but the early signs are good for this movie. I see Danny Huston's in there as well. He's playing a character, Hal Roach, another terrific actor. I'm looking forward to this. It's not getting to see this till January. I would have preferred this to come out as a Christmas release, I've got to be honest with you, with no Star Wars films going to be in that Christmas release, because I'm certainly not really that bothered about Mary Poppins. This is a film I want to see. Yeah,
I mean, you look at that cast, Stephen, it's a very impressive cast, and most notably John C. Reilly and Steve Coogan, as I did mention, but as you said, also Danny Huston, Shirley Henderson as well, who I also know from the Harry Potter franchise. She played Moaning Myrtle. She's all grown up now. It's great to see her getting another role, incidentally. So I always say I'm like the living embodiment of Laurel and Hardy. Me and my dad back in the day were like a double piece. Some of the antics we got up to try to do DIY jobs round about the house. We'd be like something out of Laurel and Hardy, tripping over things and pulling wires out of drills and stuff like that. So that's absolutely love them. Much like you, I've seen that stuff time and time again. They're just hilarious. That combination of early effects, the added hilarity, to just donkeys falling downstairs and them splashing water over each other. There's just a great double act, utterly synonymous with comedy and just early film in general. Even if I just look at a photo of them, it just stirs up great memories for me. But But you look at that photo again, Stephen, it's incredible. I can't wait. The first thing that pops out to me is just the attention to detail in the background as well. It looks like it's going to be a brilliant period piece. And although I do say that Steve Coogan is a great comedic actor, we also love him from Alan Partridge. And obviously he was a stand-up comedian. He did that Yorkshire chap and all that. I don't know the name, you'll know it better than me, but he was hilarious. But he's also he can be a very serious actor as well. He's a very talented guy, very intelligent guy. And obviously you look at John C. Reilly, he's been in a whole host of serious roles and funny roles. So I think they're perfectly, they've just nailed the casting here. The writer's brilliant, as you did say. Philomena, he's worked with Steve Coogan before. This has just got so many positives and not a huge amount of downsides to me. I believe it's going to be following their later careers, as they've done what was to be their farewell tour of the United Kingdom. Obviously Stan Laurel had a great affinity with Glasgow, so it's going to focus on their later career and just obviously they were in the swan song of their careers at this point in their lives, but even at that point their comedic timing was so eternal that they were having a great time going around all the city. So I can't wait to watch it, can't wait to see how the hell it plays out, and I can't wait to January. I think that's the perfect release. I understand what you said, Stephen, about wanting it at Christmas. That would have been good as well, but just with the blockbusters like Mary Poppins, if that takes off, then it's just going to dwarf everything. So I think this is the perfect time. We're still getting the festive spirit transferring into early January, but you're kind of dodging the blockbusters as well. And such as the fame and the fandom that these two guys had, I'm sure it'll connect well with audiences, and I think it'll do very well at the box office.
Yeah, my only worry, John, is the sort of widespread release of this movie. I don't think it's going to be in a lot of cinemas here in Glasgow, if I'm being honest. I think we might get it in the Glasgow Film Theatre. I hope I'm wrong, though.
I hope you're wrong as well.
Because this is a movie I think should be out there in the public. But it remains to be seen. I think it's getting its premiere in late October, and it's I'll give it a couple of months to spread the word of mouth. And I'll certainly see its release. Regardless of that, if it's a Glasgow Film Theatre, it's only going to be released in. If that's the worst case scenario, I'll certainly go along and see it anyway, because I do want to see this movie. But we're just going to move on now to our next topic we're going to talk about. Is actually in regards to the upcoming release of Christopher Robin. This is director Marc Forster, who was quizzed. This is on slashfilm.com, by the way, and he was asked the question, was there a worry that the Paddington movies might have already cornered the cute and cuddly bear market? This is what Marc Forster had to say. He said, "No, I think Paddington is a bear. This is a stuffed animal, a toy. They're very different personality-wise. I think Pooh's behaviour is very different than Paddington's. I think the two of them don't have that much in common in regards to character and personality. Obviously Paddington is much more active, so I wasn't worried about that." I've got to be honest, John, when this movie was first announced and then we got that first trailer, I kind of did have that inclination. I thought it might be very similar to it. I know both characters though. I know they're definitely different personalities, but I just thought perhaps that the theme and the tone might be the same. After seeing the latest trailer, those thoughts were totally thrown out the window as far as I was concerned on how they're going to take this movie. As you know, these are all the childhood toys of Christopher Robin, who's now grown up, Ewan McGregor playing him, and I think this is a new story. I don't think it's an adaptation of any other story. I think this is just a fresh storyline as far as I believe, and it's all about Christopher Robin's lost his way as far as his work and his family life, and I think these characters from his past are going to bring it all home to him.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Yeah, he comes. He's having. I believe the premise is that he's getting bogged down with the pressures of work. He gets disconnected from his family. I think they go away for a weekend retreat, and he goes back to his old haunt in the 100-acre wood, and he becomes reacquainted with all his old childhood friends. And as you did say, Stephen, they're all literal stuffed toys. And I think that was been very deliberate. I think this is why Marc Forster's did this, so he can differentiate it from the Paddington series, which is obviously a real living bear, CG bear. It's intermingling with live action. This is stuffed toys mingling with live action. I mind when the trailer got released, there was a bit of a, I wouldn't say controversy, but a lot of fans of the series were disappointed that they were going down the stuffed toy route, but certainly that is more a faithful adaptation and interpretation of the literal novel, which was stuffed toys come to life, and also interacting with Christopher Robin. So I've got no issues with him using that, and I've no issues with him differentiating from Paddington, because you'd get the comparisons right away, because it has two bears, two famous bears over here in the United Kingdom. Certainly lots of nostalgia surrounding them, and they'll have a place in a lot of people in their middle age years' hearts. And I can't wait to see this film as well, Stephen. I'm a big fan of Ewan McGregor. I can't wait to see what he does. I didn't know there was a Gladiator reference. He does go into that in this same interview, that there was a Gladiator reference put in by the director of photography as a little joke. I didn't even notice that, so I clearly wasn't switched on when I was watching this. But yeah, I don't think there'll be any issues with this having any clashes with Paddington. I thoroughly enjoyed the two Paddington films. Very intelligent, loved the visuals. They're very distinct. This has got its own distinct visuals, and I'm sure it'll have its own distinct story and nostalgia. So I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, the visuals, John, I was just going to bring that up actually in regards to, I'm not sure who the chap is questioning the director on this, but he does actually mention about the colour palette in this movie. It's one of the things that stood out to me. Yeah, and it was based, I think it's in a kind of tribute to a painter from England called Lowry. Anyone knows that there's actually an actual song from the 1960s called he painted matchstick men, matchstick cats and dogs. This was based on the painter Lowry from, I think it was Salford. He was from Manchester. So I can see that, because I have saw some of his paintings, and you can see that colour palette in there. I'm looking forward to this movie. I saw that last trailer that came out in regards to some of the characters in it, seeing Pooh actually speak, and they weren't convinced of whether or not they were seeing things, and I kind of like that humour about this movie. But you're right, it's not going to be anything like Paddington. That connection has been long buried since the film was announced. I was one of the ones that were guilty of thinking it was going to be the same kind of feel to it, but I'm glad it's not. As you said, it's going to be based on the stuffed toys rather than the Disney Winnie the Pooh series of movies. But I'm glad to see the original voice actor is playing Pooh in this. I can't remember the chap's name, but I'm very happy to see he's partaking. Yeah,
he's been doing it for 30 odd years, hasn't he, Stephen? I'm thoroughly enjoying reading this article as you're talking, Stephen. And the director is going on to speak about Ewan McGregor and how he put in such a great performance, that he was dialed in, that they would put an actual stuffed animal in front of him for one take, then they'd take it away, and he was basically acting to thin air. But he was doing an extraordinary job, and he really did make you believe that he was connecting with a living and breathing thing in front of him. Well, not living and breathing, it's a stuffed toy, I'm tripping it up here. But he was making eye contact with an object actually there. And he also went on to say that because of Ewan's performance and it being so dialed in, that he was in such a natural flow, that it wasn't really that much more complicated than having two human actors on set, going back and forth with each other with that chemistry. And another thing I thoroughly enjoyed as well, just further going on to this article, was that he speaks about another comparison with Paddington also hits a slick animation that's got locked off shots and motion control, which makes it much more easier for the animators to insert the CG Paddington into the shot in post-production. But in this it was much more difficult, because as I did say previously, they're putting stuffed bears across the screen for one take, and then they're taking it away, and they're just working with on-screen actors acting to thin air, so it was just much harder for them to redo in the post. So that's very intriguing. I can't wait to see how they've managed it. I'm sure they'll have done a great job. These guys are incredibly talented, and you just look at the trailer now already, you can see that there's going to be connections. Even the photo, I'm looking at one now of Winnie looking up at Ewan McGregor's Christopher Robin sitting on a log or a bit of driftwood out in the middle of nowhere on looks like a moor or something, and you can just see the connection just through the photograph. It looks incredible, so I can't wait to watch. I'm a big fan of Winnie the Pooh, grew up with this series, the cartoon series, and I'm really looking forward to it. Fantastic article, incidentally. Thoroughly enjoyed reading it.
Yeah, I'll be taking my daughter along to see this, John, as you know. She's a big fan of Winnie the Pooh. When she saw this latest trailer as well, she was just mesmerised by it. I think we've got to that point in CG that it's just amazing to watch these characters come to life, you know, in live action. I was so impressed with, you know, I'm going back to Paddington here again, because I've seen those movies. I know how well they worked in live action. I think this is not going to have any problems from what we've seen so far. Ewan McGregor, you know, as we know, is worked in this environment before with the prequel trilogy in regards to interacting with Jar Jar Binks. You know, that was very primitive to today's standards, But he just looks so comfortable in this role, as you said, John. From that shot there on the log or the driftwood, whatever it is, there seems to be a warmth and a good relationship between Christopher Robin and Pooh, and I'm certainly looking forward to this.
Yeah, the final thing I'll add, Stephen, is just touching on what you said. I didn't actually realise or notice it in the trailer, but they do say with regards to that Lowry painter, at the beginning it's quite subdued, the colours, it's quite dark and foggy and dull. Then when he becomes reacquainted with his old friends, it brightens up, and you can see that in that photo we're looking at in the log. It's much brighter, and that's reflecting his mood. So that's quite intelligent the way they've done that. They've utilised the palette to reflect his gloom and then his newfound happiness. That's quite cool.
Yeah, certainly on social media I've picked up some people that have been very fortunate to see early screenings of this film. This film comes out next week on the 17th of August 17th, and I'm certainly looking forward to this. But we're going to move on to our next topic, John. This is one I'm kind of in the balance with. It's Die Hard Year 1. Plot details emerge and Bruce Willis will decide who plays young John McClane. This is coming in from the playlist.net, this article. It's quite an interesting article, actually. Some of the this is going to be kind of a prequel thing going on here with Die Hard and the character of John McClane, and how he met his his future wife Holly Gennaro. And at first I thought this was a terrible idea, but just reading, there's an actual paragraph in this in regards to Len Wiseman, the filmmaker, who describes the plot of the film as being two stories told in parallel, similar to The Godfather Part 2. That's kind of swayed me a little bit, because I thought this was going to be a bad idea at first. But in regards to seeing John McClane in the 1970s, this is obviously going to be set well before the original Die Hard film, which came out in the late 80s. I think it was 1987, 88, I can't remember. So this is going to be a good 10-15 years before that. Whether it's a good idea or not, it will remain to be seen. Is it necessary? Probably not. I think after Die Hard 4.0 came out, I think in 2007, I had enough of this franchise, I've got to be honest. I never even went to see that last one. I can't remember what it's called. It was just a terrible title as well. Our editor-in-chief Kevin, he went to see it and they recommended that I didn't go and see this if I wanted to have good memories of this franchise. Yeah,
as you know, Stephen, I have never seen a Die Hard film, which is disgraceful, and I will be remedying that very soon, because I do. Well, I'm not going to watch that terrible one you spoke about. I'll probably watch the first one and maybe even the second one. I know Alan Rickman was in the first one. Obviously it's Hans Gruber, absolutely classic name. I don't know anything about the character. I know he was a villain, that's it. But this is an interesting concept. When I read about it, I thought, this is terrible. Much like you, Stephen, I've never seen the first film, so that's just me just basing it off of past experience of them going back and tampering with well-established franchises that have kind of been on a downward spiral as they've continued to release. And it's just, it doesn't work out usually, but the concept's very interesting. But we're also speaking about this in the box office chat show yesterday, where I was questioning you about Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, and also I had flashback scenes and how it may be similar to Godfather Part 2, and they, once again, we're speaking about it here. It's a similar concept. We're alternating between the past and the present, and it's an interesting concept because it does show you how the character you're seeing in the current day came to be the person they are, what drove them and what made them who they are. We've seen that with Robert De Niro's portrayal of Don Corleone. We've seen how he became the vicious and ruthless chap we see in the present day, but we've also seen the humanity of the character as well, and how he could be a thoroughly good man when it came to people close to him and stuff like that. He wasn't just a crazy person, he would do good things, and I'm sure this will be pretty much the same. We'll get to see what drove the character of John McClane, what made him who he is today, what turned him into the guy we've seen in the first film, which I've never seen again. So I don't know what type of guy he was. Obviously he was a hero figure, trying to save everyone from Hans Gruber's pack of German terrorists, and there's a plot I would never have thought I'd be reading out. Germans and terrorism? No. But listen, it's an interesting concept. We're taking that well-used flashback sort of a thing. It's been done to the death in other films. Some well, some not so well. Everybody's tried to capture the magic of Godfather Part 2. Not everyone's succeeded. Time will tell whether they do succeed here, but certainly the director seems very passionate about it. Apparently this has been happening on and off for a number of years. It's been a long process. Bruce Willis seems to be on board. He's passionate about it. I watched his roast the other week there. It was very funny. And Joseph Levitt was part of that. I don't think he wants to be part of this. I seen a little joke when I read about this in another article that he'd ran away when Bruce Willis tried to approach him for the role. I don't think he'll be playing a young Bruce Willis again.
Yeah, I mean, I think it worked well in Looper, John, but I don't think it would work well here. Although I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt would actually play a good John McClane, if I'm being honest. Live Free and Die Hard, that was the name of that film. Terrible title.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go there. But I think after getting their fingers burnt with that instalment of the franchise, they've had a rethink on how they want to take this forward by, ironically, going back. Mm-hmm. How much role Bruce Willis will have in this movie, I don't know. If it's going to be what they said in that quote there in regards to, similar to The Godfather Part 2, it could be evenly balanced. Yeah. It could be two situations, two cases that the old John McClane is working on and the young John McClane is working on. It could work. It worked in that movie Frequency, as I recall. You know, where you had two timelines and they were both trying to solve this. It was like a serial killer, wasn't it? Yeah. In the 1960s and in the 1990s simultaneously. So
also the butterfly effect as well, Stephen. Similar concept, not flashbacks, the same character, but similar concept. We were going back and forth.
The timelines. It could work. You could have two stories and two different timelines. It could work. Yeah. So I think after reading this article, it's a very good article on the playlist.net. As I said, it's kind of opened it up a little bit more for me. When I first heard of this, I thought it was a terrible idea. I thought actually it was going to be some kind of a terrible cop show TV series that they were going to do. I'm glad they're not going down that road, because if you've ever seen any reruns of TJ Hooker with William Shatner, then you don't want to go there. I don't think Bruce Willis would suit a wig these days anyway.
You'd probably have to wear one though, Stephen, if it, well, you won't, because it's a younger person, a younger actor, so you won't. I'm talking crap.
Exactly. But I don't know if you get anything else to say, man.
I'm just going to talk about that and then I'll the Christmas.
But listen, it'll come out and I'll probably go and watch it.
Yeah, the final thing I'll add, Stephen, is that I'm just looking at a little link here in the article in front of me, and it's Bruce Willis saying that the original Die Hard film wasn't a Christmas film. No, he was speaking, I'm assuming in regards to the honouring of the film's 30th birthday. He says it's not a Christmas film. Utter nonsense, Bruce. Sacrilege, my man. That was a Christmas movie.
Big debate. It has been for the last 30 years whether or not it's a Christmas movie or not. For me it is. I think, you know, it's set at Christmas. It has a lot of Christmas tone to it as well, and that end song as well, Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow, confirms that. And we're just going to wrap things up here with our final article, and we're actually going to go back and talk about Ewan McGregor again. This is in regards to this Shining sequel as a faithful adaptation, so Stephen King might like it more than Kubrick's film. Ooh, that's a big call there from Ewan. This comes in from IndieWire.com, and McGregor tease should be welcome news to King, who famously disliked The Shining for taking liberties with his novel. I wasn't aware of this actually. I didn't realise that Stephen King disliked The Shining. I can understand from his personal point of view. The Shining is a great film, there's no doubt about it, but very much like Roald Dahl with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, absolutely hated the film adaptation from 1971. This is very similar. I can understand that. He's very precious about his own work not being portrayed right in film, and I can understand that, but Ewan McGregor coming out with this, that's a good sign. It's a good sign for Stephen King's adaptation for this Shining sequel, which we spoke about a couple of months ago, John, on the Movie Burner podcast. Yeah,
it's when it got announced that Ewan had joined the cast for this film. I can't remember what it's called. Dr. Sleep. And I can understand why Stephen King wasn't too pleased. He was a bit miffed at the adaptation, because I don't think there was a great emphasis on the shining power. I certainly didn't take that from the film. I did know that Danny Torrance did have supernatural, paranormal powers. He could sense ghosts. He could obviously see the ghosts of the two little girls. I don't think it was heavily hinted at him having any special power. I know the caretaker in the toilet says that he hints at him having special abilities and that he has to deal with them. I can't remember, I've not seen the film in a long time, but he did hint at powers, but it wasn't as fleshed out, and certainly, by all accounts, I've never read the book, but it's quite a prominent part in the role. He's got this special shining power, and this continues on to this. He's hit the drink after the events that took place in the first film. He's an older chap now, he comes off a drink and he starts becoming reconnected to his shining powers. He meets a young girl who has the same powers as him, and they start to help each other. I think they're fighting off some gang that are trying to kidnap her. I think that's the premise of the book. Again, I've never read this other book, but it's very good to see Ewan's telling the truth, and I have no reason to suspect he isn't. He's not a bullshitter. He talks sense and he talks the truth. That they are going to stay faithful to the Stephen King novel, because he's a fantastic writer. You just need to look at the amount of films that's been adapted from the great man's books, and you'll just see these incredibly talented chaps. So if you stick to his script, you'll not go far wrong. But certainly Stanley Kubrick moved away from the script a good bit, and he didn't go far wrong either, because such is the base for which this guy gives you in storytelling. But listen, very excited for this film, can't wait to see it. Anything that's connected into The Shining, I'm happy. Anything that's got Ewan McGregor in it, I'm happy. And it's an interesting concept too.
And any Stephen King novel that's adapted well to film, I'm interested in as well, John, because the guy's so unique in his storytelling, and I think over the last couple of years that his novels are starting to do justice on the big screen, with the likes of It, you know, in 2017's Gerard Game as well, 1922, which was a great Netflix film adaptation of Stephen King's, I think it was a short novel, that one, it was a short story, but it worked well. And I'm just glad to see that. It's interesting to know that I think Ewan McGregor's actually a good relationship with Stephen King. I know that, you know, he's obviously the lead role in this, but I think the likes of Chris Evans, Matt Smith and Jeremy Renner were all connected to this. It was actually Stephen King that gave Ewan McGregor his blessing to play this role. So this movie, it doesn't come out till 2020, so it's still early days, and I'm pretty sure as the months roll on we're going to get more information about this film. Rebecca Ferguson, I know that she's tied to this film as well, but I don't know too much more about it other than what's come out about Ewan McGregor being cast, and obviously Ewan McGregor, his words on how this movie is going to play out. Yeah.
And the final thing I add is that it does get back, I believe in the book anyway, to the hotel from the original film. I always forget the name of the bloody hotel. It's one of my all-time favourite films, and I can never remember the hotel's name, but it goes back there. So I can't wait to see him recreating that. I don't imagine the interior and the decor is going to be the same as it was 30-40 years previously, but just seeing that setting again will be very, very interesting, and I can't wait. But that brings us to the end of this week's Movie Burner News. We'd just like to thank you for listening to us once again. We'll be back to do it all again next week.
Remember guys, if you enjoyed that episode, then do hit that like button, comment below, and maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. If you want to follow us on social media for all the latest updates from Movie Burner Entertainment, then we can be found on Twitter and Facebook at Movie Burners. You can also listen to us on Google Play and iTunes at the Movie Burner Podcast. And last but not least, if you want to access all the latest written reviews and the occasional article, then that can be found on our website at movieburnerentertainment.org. Until the next time, goodbye.